because I'm a doctor and doctors are the worst about ego. We have refined egos. So our egos, Angelo and I have talked about this before. Physician egos are really remarkable because many physicians start out feeling very unworthy and not good enough. And so they compensate and project by doing all the things. They're gifted with some intellect or some compassion or something. And then they employ it in this way of trying to show themselves and the world that they are worth something. And they're rewarded by consensus reality at every step of the way, except with the burnout and the EHR and the administrators now. So now what? So anyway, no, well, actually, this is interesting. Hold on. I've not thought about it this way. And again, since I'm thinking about it, it's probably wrong. So physicians have these driven egos that are rewarded typically by consensus reality. They get money, they get status, they're top of the hierarchy, or they were, and they're constantly told how good and smart and helpful and wonderful and saviors they are. And that's constantly reinforced from consensus reality. And now you're telling a physician, and by the way, but are they still suffering? Absolutely. Because it's never enough. When the fundamental story is, I am apart from all that is, and I'm never going to be enough. I'm fundamentally broken. And so I'm going to keep doing the things so that nobody looks here at the brokenness, including me. All right? So it's fundamental shame is the driver. So what ends up happening when consensus reality then starts to pull the rug and says, you know what, you're actually not all that. You're no better than an AI. Also, we're going to turn you into a data entry clerk with an electronic health record because the important people, the business people, the insurance people, the administrators, the government officials, they're the ones you need to please. And so keep doing all the things, keep working until you die, keep giving all of yourself because you're never going to be enough until you're enough. So keep going, and we'll keep track here, counting the beans, and we'll pay you, what we think you're worth based on quality measures that don't measure quality. And we'll make you do things that ethically and morally are wrong for the patient because ultimately you're a human, they're a human, and ultimately there's no distinction between other and self. But you don't really know that. So go ahead and stare at the computer instead of staring at the patient, or deny a procedure the patient needs because they're uninsured, or spend all your time charting instead of reading bedtime stories to your kid or paying attention to your spouse. Okay, well then what starts to happen? What we see. Collapse of this whole thing. Burnout, high suicide rates, all the things. Because the self that's trying to polish itself, this refined ego that's been rewarded, is super fragile ultimately because it's a house of cards. And when you take away the validation or you make it harder, it's going to start to collapse until there's realization of what and who you really are. And then you show up to the job like, oh yeah, there's really no difference between me and the patient and the administrator and all that. And I'm doing exactly the best I can because it is everything. The whole entire universe is showing up as me right now. All the causes and conditions of everything. It can't be otherwise. So I'm going to have some self-compassion. And when things aren't right, there's a spontaneous action to do something about it. Not because we think there's a self that's going to change something, but that it just arises that way. Life is living itself through the apparent instrument of you. And you were never broken. There was never a you to be broken. That's all a story. So now come back and live the movie, fully knowing it's a movie, and knowing that all the other characters are you in the fundamental sense. So we talk about fixing burnout. That shit's never going to get fixed until we fix this misunderstanding of what we are. You're always going to have shit. You're always going to have war. You're always going to have conflict. You're always going to have greed. All those things are going to keep showing up because we think we're selves apart, and we spin up a consensus world that operates on that delusion. And it's not necessary. That's the thing. It's really not. Well, we have to do it that way. Do we? Have you tried any other way?